Ja Morant has once again been suspended by the Memphis Grizzlies for once again flashing a weapon. This time around, it appears that Ja wasn't on his own Instagram Live, but one of his close friend Devontae Parks' Instagram in the wee hours of the morning. Looks like the two were in the car heading somewhere. Looked like they were having a lot of fun, bumping some NBA YoungBoy. And apparently, Devontae flashed the camera in Ja's direction, and you can see, looks like a Glock was in Ja's hand. An NBA spokesperson, Mike Bass, did already make a statement on the incident. He said, "We are aware of a social media post involving Ja Morant and in the process of gathering more information." So we're in the middle of the summer right now. Obviously, there's no need to rush any type of punishment for Ja Morant. But unfortunately, whenever that announcement is made, it will be a tough one for young Ja. Let's see, season starts around middle of October. Ja's probably going to get at least 25 games. I wouldn't be surprised if it were heavier. My guess is Ja doesn't play another professional basketball game in the year 2023. My guess is Ja some point makes an appearance on a basketball court probably in January of 2024. The league's going to go hard on Ja. You know, Adam Silver, the NBA's commissioner, is a very player-friendly commissioner. He went pretty easy. A lot of teams around the league believes Adam went pretty easy on Ja a couple months ago. If you remember correctly, Ja and the Memphis Grizzlies were in Denver, Colorado for a West Coast swing. And following a loss to Denver, Ja went out to a strip club, flashed a gun at the time on his Instagram Live, and did get suspended about 8 games, retroactively speaking. Ja then said he checked himself into a rehabilitation center to get some help. He did an interview with Jalen Rose, said, "Yo, I'm trying to find different ways to cope with my actions." Adam liked what he had heard from Ja. He met with Ja in New York, I believe. And Adam said he believes Ja's going to learn from his mistakes and not do it again. Apparently, Ja hasn't learned from his mistakes. He's once again on Instagram Live. This time around, it's his friend, which I believe in a lot of ways is even worse. Ja once again has a weapon in his hand, and he will be suspended this time, double-digit games. I'm thinking 20-plus games for young Ja Morant, the young face of the Memphis Grizzlies. It is worth noting that Ja Morant last week did not make an All-NBA team. And I'm looking at Damian Lillard's season. Obviously, Damian Lillard did have the 71-point game. But the Memphis Grizzlies were right there in the thick of things for the 1 seed all year. They ended up being the 2 seed. Ja was obviously the best player on this team. I believe you can point to Ja Morant being suspended as the reason why voters didn't vote him on one of those All-NBA teams. So in a lot of ways, you can really say Ja has already cost himself about $30-some million. If you make an All-NBA team, you're eligible for 1 year further and more money on an extension if your team that you played and got your bird rights with signs you. So he already cost himself, you could kind of say, already cost himself like $30 million. He's going to cost himself some more money because he will start the 2023-24 season suspended. Look, I cover music. Y'all know that. Some of y'all do, some of y'all don't, but I do cover music daily. I don't think I've ever seen a rapper have more influence on a generation the way NBA YoungBoys got on Ja Morant and some of the younger 25 and unders of this generation that they're coming up in. These dudes love some NBA YoungBoy. Every time something wrong happens in Ja Morant's life, it appears that NBA YoungBoy's music is playing in the background. And look, YoungBoy dropped his second tape in about 3 weeks' time this past Friday. So if you thought for 1 minute YoungBoy wasn't going to have Ja Morant and his homeboy turned up in the car, you were asleep. Ja Morant, from what I've been told, has been moving around. I know he was in Atlanta, Georgia for a few days. They caught him living his best life in the club. I ain't mad at him. Hey, it was right after the Grizzlies lost. He probably wanted to decompress. I didn't think it looked good that Ja had another bottle of tequila in his hand. Again, I'm not saying you can't have a good time. I just think it looks away when your team season just ended, in large part due to you not being 100% healthy, to you not being a leader, and this team really trying to come together to salvage their season after you got suspended. I thought it looked the way. And by the way, just a side note here, my hometown, Memphis, it's not going to be the greatest look as they try to recruit some vet free agents in to know that Ja Morant's not going to be there at least for a quarter of the season, if not more. Anywho, hey, Ja loves Young Boy. Young Boy's got real estate in Ja Morant's head, it appears. And unfortunately, this time around, he's going to pay for it. How y'all let a rapper that's on house arrest that literally can't move have so much real estate in y'all minds and influence y'all to make the decisions that y'all making is beyond me. But hey, to each his own. And I want to address something really, really quickly. For all my people out there that says, Ja Morant lives in a state where guns are legal. What's wrong with Ja having a gun? I want to address this really quickly, and I don't want to have to address this again. This shouldn't be something we have to address, but for those out there that need a little schooling from your boy FERRO, I got you covered. I'll do it in about 120 seconds. Okay, Ja Morant works for the NBA. Ja Morant doesn't own a club. Ja Morant's not a rapper. Someone pays him. Like most of us, we get paid from a job. Okay, everybody has rules at their jobs. Different jobs have different rules. Some of you out there, you might be a business owner. You maybe can do what you want. The real good business owners, I do believe, don't put themselves in bad spots to hurt themselves from future business. That's just how I look at it. For all us other people out there that got to work a job to get our ends meet, our jobs have rules. At Ja's job, not having guns on social media is against their rules. They don't want it. So no matter what you feel personally, I don't care what gun laws are legal in whatever state he in, his job doesn't want that. I'll get into why they don't want that in a second. But let's just say this as well. Ja Morant has not been in the confines of his home with somebody else recording him with a weapon. We are not catching a man with a gun in his house trying to protect his family. We are not catching a man with a strap out in public in a lockbox, having it just in case something happens. What we're seeing is a man flashing a gun, listening to NBA Youngboy. Do I really need to break that down? What it means? It's showing, yo, I'm strapped if need be. Not strapped because I want to be protective of my family. It just looked like he having a ball, which I ain't mad at the brother. But again, he works for the NBA. Why does it matter to the NBA to not have one of their lead guys, one of their faces of their young, up-and-coming next generation of stars to not have weapons online? Okay, let me break this down to you. The NBA has a TV deal with Turner Sports and Disney. Have you ever noticed when you watch a game at night, when you watch inside the NBA after the games, Charles Barkley, Shaq, those guys on inside the NBA are a little more loose at the lips. When you're watching these shows, you're having a little more fun watching inside the NBA than you are watching ESPN. I see people all the time say, I wish Charles Barkley and them could cover the NBA Finals. Well, Turner is a looser network than ESPN. ESPN is owned by Walt Disney. I worked at ESPN. I promise you, they would love to have more fun like Charles Barkley and them do on their shows before and after. They pay Stephen A. a lot of money. You don't think they want to have fun with Stephen A.? You don't think Stephen A. is aware? I promise you he's aware of how much fun they're having on the Inside the NBA crew. ESPN has to play in guidelines that Inside the NBA doesn't have to play by because Walt Disney owns the company. If you ever go into ESPN's headquarters, not only will you see a lot of sporting events playing, but you'll also see a lot of cartoons playing because Walt Disney owns the thing. And I bring that up to say Walt Disney is a kid-friendly company that's working with some big-time advertisers like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, insurance companies all over the world, car dealerships. These brands don't want their names attached to Ja Morant flashing guns. That's their prerogative, not me or yours. And by the way, it looks like we're at a crossroads here, right? You're saying you don't care. Some people, not everybody, are saying you don't care about Ja Morant having his strap on social media. I'm saying it's bad. It's a bad look for a league that cares about that. Okay, one's getting the guy suspended, and the other person's perspective is not getting the guy suspended. Where are the crosswords here? If I were John, I would listen to myself over y'all. I would. And by the way, for anybody out there that keeps throwing this in my face, for the few people that keep telling me, you know, I had a gun on my Facebook, I had a gun on my Instagram Live, and I ain't get suspended from my job. You are not flexing to me. You have 2 likes on your Facebook. What you're really telling me is you're not important enough to the company you work for them to suspend or fire you for having a weapon. That's all you're telling me. You are not flexing to me because your job has not fired you yet for showing a strap online. All you're telling me is you don't mean enough to the bottom line to get suspended or fired or for your boss to check your social media. You don't matter enough. The gain still equals more than it would be if they were to fire or suspend you. They must like what you do at your job, but it ain't whatever. You're not valuable enough. You're not high enough on the totem pole for the risk to outweigh the gain from you. That's all that means. You're not flexing to me by letting me know you still got your job with your 2 likes on Facebook, all your 55 pictures you done posted, and you showing your strap. You're not flexing to me, bro. That's not a flex. Ja Morant is one of the brilliant young faces of the league, and he cannot continue to show weapons online if he cares about future deals with Nike. You know, I don't know when they're dropping those shoes, those beautiful looking shoes, or obviously with the NBA that's not going to be happy about this. I don't feel for Ja Morant. He's young, making decisions based off what NBA YoungBoy's doing. What I do feel for and who I do feel for are those hardworking people that I know. Some of them I know personally that work for the Memphis Grizzlies, that work their behinds off to try to promote this product, social media, promote the product. You know, I know people all over the place. I know cheerleaders. I know people everywhere, right? They're working their behinds off to contribute to a better product for the Memphis Grizzlies, and their star is prohibiting them. And I'll say this one last thing. Dillon Brooks is getting a lot of blame for the Memphis Grizzlies season ending in 6 games. The reality is Dillon talked some stuff to LeBron James, but LeBron James was great before Dillon Brooks talked trash to him, and he's going to be great after Dillon Brooks talked trash to him. He's an all-time great player. What has went under the rug is Ja Morant being injured in another postseason. After already getting suspended a couple months ago, he injures his wrist. Injuries are part of the game. A lot of us believe Ja's got to learn how to fall on his jumps. It's one thing. Injuries are part of the game. But to be spotted a couple days later in Atlanta, Georgia, holding a bottle of tequila again, it's a bad look optically. I told y'all a couple weeks ago, I said it again. Ja is young, having the time of his life. He should be flexing. He's young. He come from humble beginnings, and he turned himself into something. The number 2 pick of the draft, a great young NBA player. Go put that young bull on an island somewhere. Go put him in rooms with women that be around celebrities and that know the game, know how this works. Go put him around some former NBA players that are not mesmerized to be in the same breath of air as Ja Morant. Put him around people that know how the game works so he doesn't feel like the biggest fish in a small pond. Wherever he was at, Memphis, Atlanta, it still feels like he's a big fish in a small pond, and he continues to act like he's a freshman in college.